de l'Australie et du Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, please now rise, remove your hats and caps for the national anthems of Australia and Canada.
Que vaya al público, dice tú.
Welcome to Softball City on a beautiful Friday night in Surrey, British Columbia, and a showdown of teams who just might play at the World Cup. They're both on their way to Italy when this tournament is over. And before we continue to set the stage for you of Canada and Australia, a game between two teams who finished first and second, respectively, in their pools. We're about to recognize people who have supported this tournament with their medical expertise for more than 20 years.
Dedication and commitment have been instrumental in the smooth operation of our medical team, and his tireless efforts behind the scenes have allowed our athletes to perform at their best, knowing they are safe and in capable hands. Aside from being the medical chair for Canada Cup, Steve has been the lead physio for Simon Fraser University, the New Westminster Selwyn Bellies, and the Vancouver Warriors, as well as acting as lead physio for the Chinese Olympic team in Rio in 2016. Stephen acted as a substantial sponsor of supplies and medical equipment in the early years of the Canada Cup and was instrumental in bringing on board additional sponsors as the tournament grew. Stephen has witnessed the astonishing growth of women's softball along with a dynamic increase in the athleticism, health, and strength of the players over the last 30 years, and has treated many of the sports legends here at Canada Cup, such as Michelle Granger, Jenny Finch, Lisa Fernandez, and Melanie Roche. Over the years, Stephen has worked closely with our longtime chair of medical services, Mark O'Neill. So closely that even while he was in Brazil working at the Olympics, he was still helping to schedule volunteers and get supplies for the Canada Cup. We are immensely grateful for Stephen's contributions and the countless hours he has dedicated to making the Canada Cup softball tournament a success. And we now present Stephen and Anne with a commemorative plaque and lifetime VIP passes to the Canada Cup. Not that we want you to stop volunteering. Thank you, Stephen and Anne, for everything you have done and continue to do. Your impact is deeply appreciated, and we are honored to celebrate you tonight. Thank you. Let's also use the keep it ball match. Best of luck to both teams. Have a great game.
Saque ahora con el público. ¿Ah?
25 degrees, sunny and a nice crowd filing in on this Friday night for a showdown of two teams who will participate in the upcoming World Cup, the World Women's Championship that'll start on July 15th in Italy. And Canada, as a result of their 5-0 record in pool play, will be the home team. They outscored their opponents by a count of 47-4 in the round robin, but it was a pool that did not have the strength, I would suggest, that the one that Australia was in. They went 4-1. Their only loss came at the hands of Triple Crown Colorado, who you will see in the nightcap. So these two teams, in fact, the next four teams, have more than one playoff life. That's what occurs when you win and finish in the top two in your pool. Canada without two very key members. In one case, sources tell me for the weekend because of some family weddings. Erica Polidori, who absolutely tore the cover off the softball, batted 11 for 16 with 10 runs batted in, will not be part of Team Canada this weekend. She will, as Canada has named its 16-player roster for the World Cup, and we'll share more on that story as this game goes along. She'll be on the plane to Italy. That's good news. The bad news is they won't have their top hitter this week for the rest of this Canada Cup. And shortstop Janet Leung is not available tonight for a similar type reason, but she is expected to return as early as tomorrow. And Canada gives the ball in this big playoff game to Morgan Rackle, the 26-year-old on her way to the World Cup, product of Calgary, who last year at a World Cup qualifier may have thrown 6 of the best innings she's ever thrown in a 6-5 win over Japan. Really an unprecedented victory for our national women's team. Dealing with Tamika Whitefield, the Australian starting second baseman. So Rackle facing a good Australian lineup here tonight. And see if she brings her best. And it starts pretty well thanks to the starting catcher tonight, who is Natalie Weidman, the longtime veteran. Set the defense for you. In the outfield, it's Callum Pilgrim in left, Larissa Franklin in her usual spot in center, and Kiana Jones is the right fielder. Grace Mesmer, who's had a great tournament so far at third. The young shortstop tonight is Natasha Limbani, one of the best hitters in all of women's softball. Kelsey Harshman is at second, and Zoe Hicks, who's had a great tournament, is at first. And the batter is Sasha Willems. Williams' marquee moment, or moments in this tournament, occurred yesterday as Australia, in their final game of the round robin against the Saskatchewan 222s, trailed that young group at one point 2-0. She homered in the fifth and trailed 2-1 going to the top of the seventh. And she delivered two more runs with a double as Australia went on to win that game by a count of 5-2. And Willems, on the three-strike or three-ball pitch, takes a strike from Morgan Rackle. And Rackle with good velocity on the rise ball in on the hands delivers strike two. And a quality changeup for Morgan. And there are two down to begin the top of the first inning. And here's a woman who's been a part of this program, the Aussie Spirit, for a long time. She just turned 30 on July the 3rd, celebrated a birthday here. She's starting catcher, Taylor Sitsikronis. Sitsikronis in the tournament is 2 for 11 with two doubles and a run batted in. Weidman. And hope Morgan Rackle is okay. I think she's as embarrassed as anything. She has a great start to the game, the Calgarian. She lost her shoe, but she didn't allow anyone on base. Canada coming to bat. Playoff Friday at the Canada Cup.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy multi-day sports camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport.
Canada coming to bat after a 1-2-3 inning registered by Canada's starting pitcher, Morgan Rackle. And Australia gives the ball to one of their longtime veterans, Kaya Parnaby. Parnaby, (33 years old, from New South Wales. She's 1-1 in the Canada Cup. 13 innings, given up 6 runs on 16 hits, struck out 14, and walked 4. She gave up 10 hits and 5 runs in what was really the big showdown in many people's eyes in this tournament in the round robin when Australia faced Triple Crown Colorado and fell 6-1. And Kelsey Harshman, who did not play last night in Canada's 7-0 triumph over Hong Kong, China, back in the lineup. The 26-year-old from Delta, and by her standards, has had a difficult time at home plate. She's 2 for 10 with a double, a home run, and 2 runs batted in. At this tournament last year, she had 13 hits. But this would be a great time for her to get red hot, and she's more than capable. Batted .444 at last summer's World Cup qualifier, .474 in October and early November in a bronze medal winning effort for Canada at the Pan Am Games in Chile. Facing the left-hander who goes upstairs, Parnaby, for a rise ball and a strike. Kaya, an Olympian for Australia back in 2021. And a longtime member of the program. Their head coach is a great gentleman by the name of Lang Harrow, who's originally from Milverton, Ontario, where his dad coached women's softball in the 70s and early 80s. And probably before that, I'm just not old enough to remember how long. But I do remember his dad at the 1979 Senior Women's Canadians in Milverton. And you won't meet a finer gentleman in the sport. So Harshman, 2 balls and 2 strikes. And with the absence now of Erica Polidori, who was almost impossible in the round robin to get out, Harshman becomes an even bigger part of the Canadian order. But there is still lots of good hitters to go around. And this one, in my opinion, is Canada's best. There's a deep count, and Kelsey Harshman fouls it back. Still, to me, the most intriguing part about Kelsey Harshman's story goes back to the year 2019. She was left off of Canada's 15-member Pan American Games team that summer, but added for the Olympic qualifier here in late August, early September. She has never looked back, and I've always wondered if it propelled her to bigger and better things. But she, in this occasion, takes strike 3 looking from Parnaby, who has strikeout number 15 of the tournament. Callum Pilgrim from nearby Abbotsford, British Columbia, for a second straight year, has had a fantastic Canada Cup. The 26-year-old, 6 for 9 with a double, a home run, and 7 runs batted in. This figures to be a dandy here tonight between 2 of the best in the world. Only 8 teams play at the World Cup. These 2 will be there. As Parnaby takes a look at the wristband for the signal. And Pilgrim had a healthy cut at the rise ball, but missed it. Callum was just 2 for 12 last summer at the World Cup qualifier in Italy, but she did have a triple and a run batted in that momentum building for the program triumph over Japan. There have not been a lot of those for Canada versus Japan in this sport ever. She hit 400, 4 for 10 at the Pan Am Games in the late fall. She's a head softball coach at Lindsey Wilson College. Is Callum Pilgrim and stays with a changeup to foul it back. Not quite as large a crowd tonight as we've seen during the week. It's the weekend, beautiful weather, beautiful part of the country. If you've never been, I highly recommend it. But that has been the case in previous years too, where sometimes on the Friday evening and even Saturday, things have a tendency, if Canada's playing, to be jammed on Sunday. Not an easy hop for the young shortstop, Madison Scott, but she has a great arm and just showed it off to get Pilgrim without number 2. So the first thing I noticed about Madison Scott, one of a few Australians really making their national team debuts this year, and made a fine play to retire Callum Pilgrim. And here's new Canadian star in the making, I believe, in CeCe Wong. She is from nearby Port Coquitlam. She was named the most improved player in all of NCAA Division I college softball this year. Second overall in batting. She hit .470 for the Shockers, and now primed to be a long-term member of this national team. And she was one of the 16 players named earlier today, so she'll appear in her first World Championship for her country. And by my research, at any level, not World Juniors, now known as the U18, or the World Women's. And Parnaby paints the outside corner for a strike. Just nicely underway in this important playoff game. The teams playing tonight trying to stay hot. If you win 3 in a row on the weekend, you'll be a champ of the Canada Cup. Parnaby misses away to even the count at 2-2. CeCe Wong, so far in this tournament, batting very well. She's 4 for 9, but goes down on the rise ball. So both pitchers, 1, 2, 3 innings. And will it be a night where runs are hard to come by? When it's this kind of competition, that can be the case. The second inning is next on Playoff Friday at the Canada Cup.
Welcome to the 2024 Canada Cup, brought to you by the Canadian Amateur Sports Society. Our not-for-profit organization is dedicated to ensuring that every deserving child can fully enjoy multi-day sports camps without any limitations. Join us in making a difference. Sign up for these life-changing camps or become a sponsor today. Together, let's celebrate the unifying power of sport. Visit CanadaCup.com.
35-year-old center fielder, veteran Jade Wall, set to start things for the Aussie Spirit, the Australian national team. There's Morgan Rackle. 3 up, 3 down inning for her. A great beginning to start the game. So Canada trying to put their best foot forward to win the Canada Cup, something they have not done in quite some time. Of course, for a couple of years, there was not one stage thanks to COVID. And certainly one of the favorites, along with the team they're playing in Triple Crown Colorado, to play and win in the title game that is slated for Sunday evening here at 6 o'clock. Australia somewhat in transition since the Olympics. Still with some great veteran players, but starting to add the likes of Sasha Willems and big right-hander Kendra Lamb to their pitching staff. Madison Scott at shortstop. Shaylin Watman, as they continue to retool and try to remain very competitive by world standards. And Morgan Rackle looks different tonight than she did in a couple of earlier appearances this week. Dialed in to start this game as she has her second strikeout as Getz the batter with a very good drop ball. And now here is Jade Wall. Georgia Hood going down on strikes. She's 35. And the starting center fielder. As Rackle just missed and asked the home plate umpire where it was, and the answer was just outside. Wall, an impressive 7 for 14 in the tournament with a double and 2 runs batted in. Jade has a hit in all 5 of their games. Was 7 for 15 last summer in Australia's World Cup qualifying event in Dublin, Ireland, where they had to come back after a bit of a tough start to grab the second spot behind the United States and had to fend off a very game Great Britain team in order to do it. Rackle is humming. That's strikeout number 3 for Morgan. And for Canada, who outside of Mexico had a pretty easy round-robin schedule. Now, as far as your preparation and your evaluation moving forward, who you might want to pitch, your lineup, it's games like this that are well worth studying. It's not everything for Kaylee Rafter and company. If they had their choice and you asked about winning a medal in Italy or winning this tournament, I'm sure if they're honest, one might have a slight priority over the other, but no reason not to do both. And since the 21 Olympic tournament in Tokyo, Japan, where there was a huge turnover outside of Sarah Groenwagen and Canada's pitching staff, that's been part of the question. Morgan Rackle is answering all of those questions early in this game. She struck out 4, including all 3 that she faced in the top of the second. Canada to bat when we return. Grace Mesmer, the starting third baseman this year. Emma Ensminger, the longtime national team third baseman, has taken the year off to focus a little bit more, for the year at least, on her career as a firefighter. But I understand she may return back to the fold in the year 2025. Mesmer, big hop. Scott, and the arm is shown off again. Madison Scott, her second good play at shortstop early in this game. She delivers it across the diamond in a hurry. And had to, because Mesmer runs well. Center fielder Larissa Franklin in the number 5 spot tonight, as without the likes of Polidori, things shuffled up a little bit from the lineup we saw pretty consistently earlier in the tournament. And you can bat this woman anywhere. Great speed, the 31-year-old from Maple Ridge. She's 6 for 12 in the tournament with a couple of doubles and 2 runs batted in. facing Kaya Parnaby and had a notion to lay down a one-out bunt. So both pitchers, and you know the team's just mentally in a different place in a game like this than Australia's been there for sure once facing Triple Crown Colorado. Canada don't want to take anything away, and Mexico is on the rise again with some of the additions that we're watching this week. They've added some key U.S.-born players to their lineup with Mexican heritage. A much better Mexico team than the one they brought here last year. Off the bat of Franklin. In fact, I think it hit the bat twice, but she was still in the batter's box when that occurred. So it's a foul ball. Larissa 5 for 17 at last summer's World Cup qualifier and 6 for 21 in the 2023 Pan Am Games. Parnaby checks the sign. Franklin punches it foul. Not a lot of wind on a warm evening. And even warmer if you're in this particular part of the ballpark. Sun beaming right in. And a conversation about signs between longtime teammates Sitsikronis and the pitcher Kaya Parnaby. Would still probably be considered number one, but Ellen Roberts, a good thrower, and the emerging one, I'm sure we'll see her before the tournament is over again, is 24-year-old Kendra Lamb, who's made huge strides since the 2022 Canada Cup. And Franklin again stays alive. How difficult is opening day for these two teams at the upcoming World Cup? Australia opens with Japan. Canada plays the United States. So not an easy beginning for either one of the two countries playing tonight. Franklin, not an easy play, and Franklin beats it out. She forces first baseman Georgia Hood just enough away from the bag as she pulled it that way. And the great speed of Larissa always gives her a chance. And Canada has the first hit of the game, an infield single, courtesy of the Maple Ridge, British Columbia product, who's been part of the national women's team since the year 2011. Right fielder, Surrey's very own Kiana Jones, who took a big cut at that Kaya Parnaby pitch. Kiana's started to swing it much better as the week has gone along. She has a couple of home runs and 5 runs batted in, but misses on the high rise. Now with 1 out, Franklin more than capable of stealing a base. Can be a little easier to do if you had a left-hander there because there's more protection. And Sitsikronis throws well, but Kiana Jones goes down looking for out number 2. And Parnaby has her third strikeout of the evening. Two-sport athlete Zoe Hicks, the 26-year-old from Boissevain, Manitoba. Played collegiately up until 2021 at Louisiana Tech, went across the pond to play in Europe for a season. Also a member of Canada's women's national baseball team. She'll play in 2 World Cups this summer. 1 in Italy and 1 in Thunder Bay. And she got off to a great start grand slam, her first at bat against New Zealand going back to Monday afternoon. She's 5 for 12, double, triple, home run, and 9 runs batted in for Zoe Hicks. Drives it, caught by Jade Wall. Takes a hit away from Zoe Hicks. We expected a good one. We have a good one by 2 of the top 8 countries in this sport on planet Earth. One hit, it belongs to Canada. No runs. Top of the third as this one rolls along, thanks in no short part to starting pitchers Morgan Rackle of Canada and Kaya Parnaby. His 37-year-old longtime infielder, Claire Warwick, steps into the batter's box. Rackle struck out every batter she faced in a 1-2-3 second inning and finds the outside corner. Has gone to the circle tonight with what looks like Morgan's best stuff. Comes back inside, but this time misses to Warwick. She's 1 for 8 so far in the tournament, the third baseman. And Rackle back with a strike to even the count. Morgan Rackle coming in tonight 1-0. She's now pitched 7 innings, no runs, given up 4 hits, and struck out 10 and nearly had number 11. She pitched 4 innings against the Philippines, gave up no runs and 2 hits, and then threw an inning, 2 innings, in fact, against Mexico. Warwick delivers Australia's first hit of the evening as she flares one into left field. And Australia with a leadoff batter aboard. Their first base runner of the game as well. And here's impressive young shortstop Madison Scott, who's already shown you her capabilities defensively on a couple of occasions. She drops down a bunt in fair territory and moves Warwick into scoring position. The 24-year-old Scott executes well. And a chance for Australia to score the game's opening run with Pippa Adkins, who's 23 years of age from Tasmania. 5 for 12. Another relative newcomer to the national team. Sarah Groenewegen, who pitched a couple of evenings ago in a win over Israel, is up and throwing for Canada. In big games, Kaylee Rafter is generally used more than one pitcher unless they're going so well that there's no reason to make a change. Now, Sarah Groenwagen, who has been a key part of this national women's team, struggled in that game against Israel. Did not have her best stuff. Rackle, Groenwagen, Katie Bodrug, and what a moment it must have been for Katie Korstrom, the young 22-year-old who has been named to Canada's national women's team for the first time for a major event. What an exciting time for her and her family, and she's earned it. She has thrown twice this week and put forth 2 excellent performances, including 5 innings on opening day against New Zealand. So an important batter, Pip Adkins and Morgan Rackle. And Adkins having a quality at bat. She fights it off, and the count remains at 2-2. Her big game this week, 2 for 3 with 2 doubles and a run batted in against Greece, but a Greek team that went 0 for 5 in the tournament. And Rackle, when she needs one, delivers strike 3 on the rise. And Morgan with 5 strikeouts in the game. Second baseman Tamika Whitefield popped out behind home plate to catcher Natalie Weidman to start this affair. Tamika is 25 years of age from Queensland, 2 for 15 in this Canada Cup. Back at Rackle and throws it away, and that's going to allow the game's first run to score. So Morgan not really able to set herself, and it leads to the errant throw and the first run of the game, and it belongs to Australia. And a Canadian error allows the first run, but a great throw by Natalie Weidman guns down Tamika Whitefield. But the first blow in this 1 versus 2 playoff game delivered by the Aussie Spirit. Canada comes to bat in the bottom of the third. A Canadian error to pitcher Morgan Rackle, who has thrown so well in the first 3 innings, allows Australia to score the game's first run. And they lead at 1-0. Both teams have 1 hit apiece. Is Natalie Weidman, the catcher, the 31-year-old from Mississauga, Ontario, steps into the batter's box to face Kaya Parnaby. And Parnaby's been sharp early in this game. She has 3 strikeouts to her credit. The only very small blemish, was an infield single by Larissa Franklin. So she has been sharp. Works down to Weidman, but out of the zone. Natalie has never really been known for her hitting. She's 1 for 8, a very solid defensive catcher. Spent a lot of years as the backup to the now head coach, Kaylee Rafter. One of the best, and hope Natalie's all right as she makes her way to first base after being hit. And seems like she's going to be okay. That elbow pad, probably a bit of a saver. Australia gathers. And Kaylee Rafter comes out to chat with pinch hitter Gina Want. Congratulations, Gina. You have earned your way to Italy at 18. She played for Greece in last year's tournament. She's 3 for 8 and comes in to hit for shortstop Natasha Limbani. No Janet Lung tonight, as Janet is away, I'm told, at a wedding, but should return tomorrow. So quite a spot. Kaylee Rafter has a lot of trust. She's been used in almost every single game. Her last Team Canada appearance was in the U18 category as Canada moved towards a World Cup in that age group earlier this year in Colombia, where she hit .333. Goes through that identification camps. And if I check the roster that was named correctly, she's 1 of 16 on the way to Italy. And has not shown bunt. 3 hits, she's doubled and scored a run. The 18-year-old from Stony Creek, Ontario, just outside of Hamilton. And misses on a quality drop on the inner half from Kaya Parnaby. The 2-2 on its way. And Gina Want takes it looking. Strikeout number 4 of the game for Parnaby. By the way, is Kelsey Harshman, who struck out earlier in the contest. Canada not set to face Australia at the World Cup, at least not early. They are in 2 different pools, but could meet in a super round later on. There's a different type of format in WBSC events than the one that you see here. Not a lot different, but a little. There's no super round in this event. And what happens is you carry points over into the super round against the teams that advance to it. But that's a story for another day. This is much simpler. Canada with a win tonight would move towards a Canada Cup crown, and Kelsey Harshman, who always seems to deliver in key situations, has her first hit of the night. And Canada now with runners at first and second and one out. Canada has hit 11 home runs in the tournament. Only Triple Crown Colorado has as many. As they try to answer back after the error-aided run that Australia scored in the top of this third inning. The second Canadian hit to Harshman. And I can almost guarantee you, if Canada wins the Canada Cup this weekend, it will be in big part to Kelsey Harshman getting red hot. That's who she is and what she generally does. Another visit from Taylor Sitsikronis. There's been a number of them. Two balls and no strikes to Callum Pilgrim, who grounded out to Madison Scott on a close play her first time up tonight. Callum would like to add another RBI to her 7 underneath it. And Sitsikronis on 2 knees takes care of it. So a first missed opportunity for Canada as they have a runner in scoring position for the first time in the game. And C.C. Wong is a courtesy runner for the catcher, Natalie Weidman, and that runner has to be the last person to make an out in the inning. So Pilgrim over there, which adds far more speed in scoring position. C.C. Wong. Quite a moment for her when she homered in her home area, nearby Port Coquitlam. A first-team NCAA All-American. That doesn't happen very often for Canadian players. Here's the 0-1, and C.C. Wong had a quality swing. Just failed to get on top of the rise ball from Kaya Parnaby.
Batter looks at me.
Stay alive, stay alive, stay alive, stay alive.
It's one thing to join a national women's team of Canada's caliber. It's another to find yourself in a very important spot like C.C. Wong is in the batting order. And could be a real fixture in that area for a long time as Parnaby has the rise ball get away on her. Pilgrim at second. running for Natalie Weidman, who was hit by a pitch to start the inning. Harshman, who singled at first. They'll ask, but I don't think she went. And the umpires feel the same way. So with 2 out, the Canadian base runners will be on the move. Again, checks the wristband. Here's the payoff pitch. No matter what, in this at-bat, it shows you the kind of hitter that CC Wong is. And early in games like this, the harder you can make a pitcher work, that generally will pay dividends later on. And time is asked for. Not exactly sure by who. There have been a lot of conversations between pitcher and catcher. And it's always more so that way with a runner at second base. Not that you steal signs, but you will tip somebody off if you can. So this lengthy at-bat continues for designated player CC Wong. And another foul ball. Can't wait to watch her at the upcoming World Cup and see how she deals with the true best of the best. No, we're not gone yet. CC's still working on it. And draws the walk. That in any analytical book is a quality at-bat to load the bases for Cloverdale's Grace Mesmer. Mesmer failed to reach base after Madison Scott went behind the bag at second on a chopper and threw Grace out. Quality opportunity for Canada to draw even or maybe better. The rise is out of the zone. Mesmer has played collegiately at Oregon State. And I think she's made huge progress defensively from last year to this year. Her arm seems as strong as it's ever been over at third. Into the hole. Canada will at least tie it. Grace Mesmer gives Canada a 2-1 lead with a single to left in the bottom of the third. A clutch hit for Grace Mesmer. And Canada with a response as it sneaks through the hole. Scoring both Pilgrim and Harshman. And give a lot of credit to CC Wong for the quality at-bat that kept the inning alive. And Lang Harrow out to chat as Taylor Sitsikronis is unhappy. And Grace Mesmer has given Canada the lead in the bottom of the third. As her terrific Canada Cup continues, both offensively And she's been as good defensively. Runs batted in, 6 and 7 for Grace, and her 7th hit in 14 official at-bats. And brings to the plate Larissa Franklin, who had Canada's only hit prior to this bottom of the third inning. An infield hit towards first, and looked like she was a tad behind on that swing. Canada responds after a tough error for pitcher Morgan Rackle that allowed Australia to open the scoring. Not likely to be a play on with 2 out, runners at first and third. But Mesmer looks over at former Canadian national team men's shortstop. What a gem he was at short, Chris Jones. Now a part of the women's coaching staff. Scott goes the easy way. Canada responds, a couple of hits, and none bigger than the one off the bat of Grace Mesmer that has given Canada a 2-1 lead after 3 on playoff Friday night at the Canada Cup. Both teams score in the third inning. Australia opened in the top half in Canada thanks to a Grace Mesmer 2-run single with the bases loaded. Cashed in the bottom as Morgan Rackle returns to work outside of the air on a ball that caromed off of her body and the bat of Tamika Whitefield, and then threw the ball away. And that goes over the head fairly of CeCe Wong, and some throw. Tracked down in a hurry as Sasha Willems' fine tournament continues. Is just off the glove of CeCe Wong. And there's been a defensive change. Grace Mesmer has moved from third over to shortstop in place of the youngster Limbani. And she'll have a quick test. Harshman on the turn. Perfectly executed. 6-4-3. So Mesmer, the regular third baseman, she started there, in fact. And you can't really do it much better. The shovel and Harshman with a terrific turn for the 6-4-3 double play. So Natasha Limbani, the young infielder, comes out. No Janet Leung tonight, who's away, I understand, at a wedding. Should return tomorrow. The long-time and quality Canadian shortstop. So Kaylee Rafter's team takes the lead and then changes things up defensively. Wong to end the inning. It's amazing to me sometimes when you enter a game how the ball will find you. One went off CC's glove, had no chance. The other made a good play to end the inning. Canada in front 2-1, headed to the bottom of the fourth in this 1-2 playoff game. Canada, 2 runs on 3 hits. They've committed 1 error. Australia, 1 run on 2 hits. Kiana Jones struck out her first time up. She is a product of this city, Surrey, British Columbia. She'll turn 23 on August 16th. 2 for 7 now with 2 home runs and 5 runs batted in right field. 7 for 17 was Kiana at the Pan Am Games. Played a couple of stellar seasons at the University of North Carolina. Transferred to a somewhat tougher school, South Carolina this year, and flies out. To Pippa Adkins in right to begin the bottom of the 4th inning. First baseman Zoe Hicks. She lined out to Jade Wall, her first time up tonight. This young woman is very competitive, plays with great energy, highly intense, and you can tell loves it. You can't play on 2 different national women's teams in our country if you're not special. She's special. And did not miss that Parnaby pitch by very much. And she's really, in this sport, maybe more so than baseball, where she's been a significant member of the National Women's Baseball team, I think just really starting to come into her own in this game. And the more world-class competition you face, the better the progress generally. And Parnaby with an excellent pitch up and in on the rise. No Erica Polidori for the rest of the weekend. She's away at a wedding. And was only hitting .688 through the round robin. Give Hicks credit. Parnaby threw a whale of a changeup, and Hicks able to fight it off. And the next step really for Zoe will again come against the best competition in the world at the upcoming World Cup. She was 2 for 15 or 2 for 17 in the qualifier last year in Italy. She'll look to improve upon that. But it is interesting that both her hits came in a pair of games against Japan. Fouls it off towards the Canadian dugout. Kaylee Rafter took over after helping her country win its first ever Olympic medal as the longtime catcher when Mark Smith stepped down. Kaylee's also a key part of the coaching staff now full-time at Florida State University. And this changeup was even better. As Zoe Hicks goes down on strikes. Natalie Weidman with a key moment in the game. She was hit by a pitch, ended up at second after Kelsey Harshman delivered her there, and it allowed Canada to end up scoring 2 runs. Weidman. Wall seemed to take a couple of steps back, but recovered to end the inning. It's what you would have expected with 2 terrific World Cup teams. A quality game. 2-1 Canada. We're headed to the 5th. On a day that Canada named its 16-player roster for the World Cup, one of the players on the roster comes in to pitch. Sarah Groenewegen and Morgan Rackle threw a terrific first 4 innings. Sarah actually took a year off after the Olympic bronze medal. She's been through a lot. In 2018, we almost lost her. Incredibly sick as Canada was about to start the World Championships in Chiba, Japan, and ended up for quite a lengthy time in a self-induced coma. But made her way through, and then in one of the greatest stories ever, a year later in her home park, helped Canada qualify for the Olympic Games. She had a stellar, you talk about All-Americans being rare. Well, Sarah Groenewegen was a superb pitcher in her 4 years at the University of Minnesota. Not trying to be critical, but she did not have her best stuff 2 days ago against Israel. We'll see what her work features tonight, and it doesn't start well. Jade Wall on the first Groenewegen pitch delivers a game-tying home run. As Sarah got it up in the middle of the plate, and the 35-year-old Wall took it to straightaway, and the game is tied again. And the changeup has become, in many ways, her best pitch. Jade Wall's first home run, third run batted in of the Canada Cup, has drawn Australia even. And Dawn Bodrug warms immediately. As Shaylin Watman, a young outfielder, 23 years of age, from Glenmore Park, as Weidman and Groenewegen look to be on the same page as far as the game that Natalie will call for Sarah and vice versa. So a tough beginning for Groenewegen. Lots and lots of change-ups in the arsenal, more than I can ever remember in previous days. Weidman drops, recovers, and that should help settle Sarah Groenewegen back in a little bit as she records her first strikeout in the first out of the top of the fifth inning. Claire Warwick, the batter. She singled and scored on the air to starting pitcher Morgan Rackle in the third. A 2-2 tie in this all-important 1-2 playoff game. The winner advances in, if you will, a winner's bracket to tomorrow's 6 o'clock game. And that game, if you win it, puts you in the championship final on Sunday. Sarah's speed is in the 62, 63 neighborhood. We do have our radar back, but it's not right behind home plate where it was earlier this week until our original one was broken, and look out. So that's hammered to the fence. Warwick, a big turn. There's going to be a close play. But the 37-year-old goes in sliding safely. And after Australia tied the game, Claire Warwick has just her third hit, but she's 2 for 2 now tonight with a double. And it never ceases to amaze me how great veteran players in showdowns that just seem and feel a little different rise to the top of their game. Madison Scott, Groenewegen's always been a good fielder, and it's not in time. As Scott raced down the line, Groenewegen did well with it. Had to wait for the big hop to come down right off the plate. And Scott runs very well, and that will be scored, a base hit. And now runners and first at third with a home run already delivered and more trouble, big trouble brewing. Warwick was able to go from second to third, and Kaylee Rafter doesn't look like she'll make a change yet, but she seems to be having a pretty adamant conversation. She's going to leave Sarah to try and work her way out of it. And Dawn Bodrug continues to work. The pitcher for Canada that probably leads the way in terms of velocity. Give Morgan Rackle credit. She was excellent tonight in her 4 innings. That was a world-class performance. Certainly her best against excellent competition here at the 2024 Canada Cup. Canada will need more of that from her this weekend and at the upcoming World Championship. So the rise is high. And the batter is right fielder Pippa Adkins, who has great speed from the left side of the batter's box. And now it's actually a pinch hitter. Michelle Cox is drawn in. Flares it. And Australia leads. Michelle Cox just inside the line. And Claire Warwick trots home. And Australia's gone back in front. It's 3-2. So one team scores, the other responds, then the other team comes back. And there's Sarah's best changeup. But it gets away from Natalie Weidman, and now there's runners at second and third, and there's still only one away. And another one to second baseman and Australia leadoff batter Tamika Whitefield, who hit a ball off the body of Morgan Rackler last time up. Rackle, in an attempt to get the speedy second baseman, made an errant throw. And Claire Warwick scored her first of 2 runs tonight. There's a very important pitch for Sarah. Gets Tamika Whitefield swinging on the rise ball. And that seemed to be the pitch with the most velocity that she's thrown since entering the game here in the 5th. She's given up a couple of runs, and Canada trails by 1. They hope it stays that way as Sasha Willems fouls it off. She is singled and struck out. She, at 22 years old, who played college ball at Southern Alabama, moves into a time where she will be a more important piece of the Australian puzzle. She hit .257 for the Jaguars this season and has 5 hits in 12 at-bats at the Canada Cup. And fouls this down the third base side. Australia's had a big inning. And Canada trying to limit any further damage. That's Sarah's best changeup. And it couldn't have come at a better time. Australia strikes twice and lead 3-2, headed to the bottom of the 5th. So this back and forth affair now in favor of Australia. They were 4-1 during the round robin. Their only loss to 5-0 Triple Crown Colorado, the great collegiate all-star team that David King, the founder and leader of the Triple Crown Colorado developmental program, brings to this tournament. Jaina Want down the line and a diving try out there. Valiant effort by Michelle Cox. That would have been the defensive play of the entire event had she made it. Jaina Want named to Canada's 16-player roster for the World Cup. What a moment. That's a great meeting to have. She'll be on a plane on Monday to Italy. And finds herself with 2 strikes on her after a fine changeup from Parnaby, who's given up just 3 hits through 4 innings. Want popped it up, and Whitefield calls her pitcher off. Kaya took 1 step back like she was going to play it, and then, as per usual, the other infielders take charge. Kelsey Harshman singled and scored, 1 for 2 in the game. Had a good rip at that pitch. The 26-year-old. Do it on every broadcast. She's a professional hitter. And having a good conversation with longtime opponent on the world level, Taylor Sitsikronis. Shows a good eye on the rise ball. Parnaby's had her best stuff. I would suggest she didn't feel quite the same way against Triple Crown Colorado. Change up. Did Kelsey get enough? She did. Tie game. When the games get big, Kelsey Harshman rarely lets you down. Her first home run of the Canada Cup and second hit of the night. Picks a pretty good night to record her first multi-hit game and has tied it on Canada's 12th home run of the tournament. And we're even again. Pilgrim. Just foul. Terrific game in the first of 2 1-2 playoff games. Mexico and Triple Crown Colorado on the way next for a berth in what I'll call the winner's bracket final. Tomorrow at 6. Pilgrim underneath it. Georgia Hood with plenty of room. And there's 2 away. Be interesting to see who comes out for Canada to throw inning number 6. CeCe Wong. Her outstanding at-bat, her last time up, which was in the neighborhood of 10 or 11 pitches long. She won the battle, walked, and ended up scoring one of the 2 Canadian runs on a bases-loaded single by the next hitter in the on-deck circle, Grace Mesmer. As Kelsey Harshman's first home run of this year's tournament tied the game. Excellent change of pace from Kaya Parnaby. The 33-year-old has had quality stuff tonight. In this showdown of 2 World Cup competitors. And Parnaby wanted that pitch, and so did catcher Sitsikronis behind home plate. Wong has homered this week. Two pitches that had to be difficult to lay off of with 2 strikes did, and made the right read twice. So the count even at 2-2 with the tying run in the bottom of the 5th, as this one has lived up to its billing. And CC Wong, as she did her last at-bat, works another count full. Now this is the spot in the 3rd where she ended up fouling off 3 or 4 pitches before drawing the walk. Does Parnaby throw the change right here? CC Wong just missed it. Terrific battle. A 3-3 tie between 2 World Cup-bound teams, Canada and Australia. So Natasha Limbani comes back in the game. Grace Mesmer shovels back to 3rd where she started, and CC Wong leaves the game for now defensively. Has everything to do with where things are in the game and where you are in your batting order. Because don't expect Natasha Limbani to necessarily bat in the game. Taylor Sitsikronis is Sarah Groenwagen. Gave up a home run. 2 other base hits in her first inning of work. Buckled down with a couple of key strikeouts with runners at 2nd and 3rd. And that allowed Kelsey Harshman with a solo shot to tie it. Off the bat of 30-year-old Taylor Sitsikronis. She's grounded out and grounded into a 6-4-3 double play in the game. Off the glove. Gives Harshman a chance. It'll be scored 1-4-3 as Harshman stays with it off the deflection. This is a big inning for Sarah Groenwagen, I think in a lot of ways, as she builds towards trying to be a go-to pitcher where she's been for a long time. Facing Georgia Hood, who hit .402 in college ball this year at Coastal Carolina. And if you leave one in the middle of the plate for her, you're going to find it on the wrong side of the fence as well. No Erica Polidori or Janet Leung, two huge members of Canada's national team. So a different lineup tonight. And Groenwagen maybe starting to find it. It's her fourth strikeout and third in the last four batters that she's faced. And Kaylee Rafter goes out to Chad, and I think she's going to take the ball. She is. Here comes Dawn Bodrug. There's Surrey's own Sarah Groenwagen. Gives way to Dawn Bodrug, who has really made huge strides for Canada in the circle the last couple of years. It has been, in many ways, the way Kaylee has liked to use her pitching staff. In big games, doesn't necessarily want good opponents to see a batter, for batters to see her pitchers maybe more than at the most 2 times in a game. Dawn is 24 years of age from Georgetown, Ontario. She played collegiately at Stony Brook University. She is 1-0 in the Canada Cup. Pitched 6 innings, given up 1 run with 4 hits, 11 strikeouts. Her most impressive performance was 4 innings against Mexico in what was really Canada's big showdown of the round robin that allowed them to finish first. And she was very, very solid, gave up 1 run, 2 hits, struck out 8 in that game, and didn't walk anyone. And comes in to face Jade Wall. And Jade Wall homered to welcome Sarah Groenwagen into the game 1 inning ago. This time she enters with 2 out in a tie game. And Bodrug generally leads the way for the Canadian staff velocity-wise in the high 60s. And comes out of the pen feeling it. I would say just the location of our speed gun probably leaves a couple miles an hour off of it. It's not directly behind home plate how it was earlier in the tournament when it got smashed by a foul ball. So thanks to Luciano Lafrano and the master of softball Premier TV, somehow, as he always does, found another one. But it's up here right beside us in the booth. Dawn Bodrug. Come out of the pen with a purpose, won't you? Shuts down Jade Wall. Canada in a 3-3 tie in this important showdown, coming to bat in the 6th. Grace Mesmer, who has supplied 2 of Canada's 3 runs with a bases-loaded RBI single that gave Canada a short-lived lead at 2-1 in the bottom of the third. Australia countered with 2 in the fifth before Kelsey Harshman's solo homer to center tied it where we are now at 3. Kaya Parnaby continues to work in the circle. I saw Ellen Roberts make her way down towards the bullpen area. Mesmer into her hands, and Warwick throw up the line a little bit, but Georgia Hood did well to take it and tag Mesmer for out number 1. So not a perfectly executed throw that time, but well enough to achieve the outcome that she wanted. Larissa Franklin. She has a base hit tonight. She's 1 for 2 in the game. And it's been a dandy. Fakes the bunt. Leaves it. 4-strike 1. Larissa was 6 for 21, helping Canada to a bronze medal late October, early November at the Pan Am Games in Santiago, Chile. Having a quality Canada Cup with 7 hits. Scott. That's a great arm. Showed it off for a third time tonight, the 24-year-old shortstop from Adelaide. And to get Larissa, it needs to get across the diamond in a hurry. And now Kiana Jones. 0 for 2. She's flown out to right and struck out in the game. Sun almost making its way behind the trees past the fences in left field. Pitch was high. Jones swings and fouls it away. Kiana's just 22. A lot of great years in front of this outfielder. 9 hits at last year's Canada Cup tournament. Parnaby thought she had strike 3. Drop ball, missed. An important 1-2-3 inning for Australia. We head to the top of the 7th in a 3-3 tie. Australia, 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors. Canada, 3 runs, only 4 hits tonight. they've committed one error. And the error led to Australia's first run. Been about what we might have expected. And again, Canada without two very key members of their lineup who are away attending family weddings, I understand. Shaylin Watman flies to Kiana Jones, who settles under it. There's Don Bodrug, who came in, and effectively so, for Sarah Groenwagen with 2 out, nobody on, and delivered a strikeout, and now induces the pop-up to begin the 7th inning. Claire Warwick's had an excellent night. The third baseman singled, doubled, scored twice. Had just 1 hit in the entire event coming in to the playoff round. But she's heating up at the most important time. As these two teams, we knew they would figure prominently in their quest for the Canada Cup title here. Bodrug misses with the drop. 2 balls and no strikes to Claire Warwick. You want to stay in the winner's bracket. And Bodrug misses again up high with what is her best pitch when she's throwing it the way she wants to. That's a rise ball. Can't imagine even Warwick would have the green light here in this situation, and doesn't. "37 years of age. Played in big event after big event and had a quality rip at the Bodrug Rise. There's a look at it. So Dawn battles back from 3-0. Can she close the deal? Yes, she can. Second strikeout in the 3 batters that she's faced. Madison Scott, 1 for 1. She also laid down a sacrifice fly, and she's made 3 plays at short where she's, where she's shown off, I think, her best attribute, her throwing arm. Pokes this, foul out of play. Another dynamite affair follows this one. Earlier today, the Philippines, with an incredible comeback, they scored 4 in the top of the 7th to upset Czechia 4-3. And Israel ended the tournament of the Cinderella Saskatchewan 222s. Who nearly upended this Australian national team. They were 3 outs away with a 2-1 lead. They fell 4-1 to Israel. So they stay alive. Don Bodrug. Not the rise. That one dropped out of sight. Canada with a chance to win it in the bottom of the 7th inning. Kaya Parnaby working her 7th consecutive inning, giving up 3 runs on 4 hits, struck out 6, walked 1, has thrown 93 pitches, 65 for strikes. There's Zoe Hicks, who's capable of ending the game in one swing, faces her. And takes strike 1, the drop on the outside portion of the plate. The versatile Joey Hicks, who's also been featured behind home plate this week. She had a pretty good twist on the high rise ball. And underneath it for Zoe Hicks. Zoe's 0 for 2 in the game, now 5 for 14 in the Canada Cup. This was a part of the tournament last year where the hits became more difficult to come by for her. And goes down swinging, her 2nd consecutive strikeout and the 7th of the game for Kaya Parnaby. Natalie Weidman hit by a pitch and flew out to center field her first time up, 2 times. Parnaby has thrown a whale of a game. Trying to not necessarily keep the status, but she'd like the ball the most at the World Cup. Ellen Roberts and 24-year-old youngster Kendra Lamb, the other members of the pitching staff here. Weidman, Michelle Cox, takes care of business. And like that, there are 2 away, and Natasha Limbani is going to bat. And when we chatted earlier about the absence of Paula Dory and Janet Leung, it really significantly changes the lineup. But with that being said, part of this week, Kaylee Rafter and the coaching staff has carried a 21-player roster, and it's in part to continue to grow young players like the one at home plate, Natasha Limbani. And she's done well for herself. This would be quite a time to deliver the biggest hit you've ever had in that uniform. Played at Niagara University this year. Impressive. Batted .318 there. 0 for 3 in the Canada Cup. And shows a good eye on the rise ball from Kaya Parnaby. And Kaya wants no part of the next hitter, who's Kelsey Harshman. Kelsey tied the game with a solo shot in the bottom of the 5th. Limbani a chopper, but a perfect hop for Tamika Whitefield. We have not witnessed many, if any, extra inning games all week. But we have one in this all-important playoff game on the Friday night. A beautiful one at that. Softball City. the Copa America. They beat Venezuela in a quarterfinal tonight in penalties. Arguably the biggest victory our country has ever had in men's soccer. My goodness. Well, we'll be finding that tonight before I go to bed somewhere. Here, we've been treated. 3-3 is the score. In the extra inning, the teams, if you're not familiar, it's the international tiebreaker, and a runner starts at second base. The last out from the previous inning. And a pop-up, exactly what Canada was looking for. As Michelle Cox fails to get the bunt down, and it keeps Madison Scott at second base. So the rise ball, difficult to deal with, to lay down on the ground. And that is a big advantage for Canada. As Don Bodrug has done a marvelous job since he replaced Sarah Groenwegen with 2 out in the top of the 6th. So a pinch hitter, and she's had a quality week, veteran Stacey McManus. Trying to cash in the go-ahead run here in extra innings. The 35-year-old, 6 for 11 in this Canada Cup. She got off to an amazing start against Greece with a 4 for 4 performance, a double and 3 runs batted in. She has 5 runs batted in the tournament as Bodrug misses up and away. As Don looks down at the wristband and delivers a strike. A ball and 2 strikes. Both these teams want to stay in the winner's bracket and advance to what I will call, in this format, the winner's bracket final tomorrow here at 6. Against the winner of Triple Crown Colorado and Mexico, McManus. It's going to fall. But the runner, Scott, is held. As to Callum Pilgrim's credit, she tracked that ball down in a hurry and has a very strong throwing arm. So gets it back in, and Lang Harrow will make another change. Stacey McManus comes in and delivers a base hit. So Whitefield will re-enter the game to run for McManus. And Sasha Willems is the batter. And she propelled Australia yesterday and prevented a major upset courtesy of the Saskatchewan 222s. She homered, and then a huge 2-run double to turn what at one point was 2-0 and 2-1 going into the 7th for the youngsters into a 5-2 Australia win. So Dawn Bodrug gives up her first hit in relief. And Kaylee Rafter out to chat about how she wants her group to handle things defensively. And these are good reps moving towards next week's World Cup. With 1 out, the middle infield stays back, and they'll allow Whitefield to run. Now they'll likely come in to cut off that run, and that's exactly what occurs. So a strike to 22-year-old Sasha Willems. Canada would love a strikeout or a pop-up right here. And almost received it. Bodrug with an excellent pitch right in on the hands of Willems, but able to fight it off just enough to give herself another swing. 0-2 pitch. Looks towards Kaylee Rafter, who not only is the head coach, she calls all the pitches as she did when she was the longtime catcher. And there's strike 3. Might have fooled Willems. Wasn't looking for this. Right at the knees. Maybe she thought it was low. Looked pretty good. And now, Taylor Sitsakronis. She's been in this position many times. The longtime catcher. Runners at second and third in this extra inning. Bodrug and the entire Canadian roster wanted that pitch in the worst way, but called outside. Scott, the runner at third, Whitefield at second. The batter, Sitsakronis. And another pitch that leaves the Canadians looking upward. What a terrific game. Really can't ask for much more. Back and forth. Two quality teams. In the air, this will likely make it out of play. Hit the dugout. That's what makes this sport so great. Every play tonight has mattered. An error led to a run. Both teams have homered in the game. There's been some excellent defense. Kaya Parnaby, wonderful pitching performance. Morgan Rackle gave Canada 4 terrific innings to start. Bodrug. The fans' reaction will tell you what they thought. Full count. Inning over. Dawn Bodrug has done her job. Canada, a chance to close it out. They'll start with a runner at second base in the bottom of the 8th. So Australia does not score. With the runner starting at second base, Canada will have the same luxury. Now Natasha Limbani, the last out, the youngster, starts at second base. Now my guess is, as we return after you get a spectacular look at Softball City that Australia likely won't pitch to Kelsey Harshman. Guess what? They're not pitching to Kelsey Harshman. So an intentional walk. In this game, you don't have to throw any pitches. Kaylee Rafter, she's anxious. She helped the bat girl. So Pilgrim, see if she is asked to lay down a bunt. CC Wong on deck. Pilgrim, a mile high. Out of play. So no bunt. See if that changes. Callum Pilgrim, the head softball coach at Lindsey Wilson College. 0 for 3 in the game. What a time this would be to deliver her first hit of the evening. Now she is going to square but can't get it down. So like Australia, Canada fails to execute on the bunt attempt. And the batter is newcomer, large addition, and CC Wong. She and Kaya Parnaby have had quality battles all night long. CC Wong is officially 0 for 2. Drew a very important walk in the third that led to a run. Two balls and no strikes to the player voted most improved by Softball America in the entire NCAA College Women's Softball Division I program. Quite an honor. And Parnaby comes back in, and CC says, absolutely. As now she looks to dig in. Grace Mesmer on deck, who delivered a bases-loaded single for the first 2 Canadian runs. Drop ball and a dandy. Maybe a bit of a change, too. 2 balls and 2 strikes. A longtime veteran pitcher against a newcomer to the national women's team of Canada. What do you know? Another full count for these two. Only 1 out, so you don't have the luxury of starting the runners, although you could. You won't. Ball 4. Look at the smile. Joey Lai, it is Pride Night on this Friday. And Joey Lai, longtime member of the national team, now a member of the coaching staff. She has that in her hat tonight. Grace Mesmer, nearby Cloverdale. 1 for 3 with a single already and 2 runs batted in. The infield is in. And Parnaby delivers a first pitch strike. Grace would love to lift this somewhere deep enough into the outfield to score Limbani. Parnaby wants a strikeout, and she's one strike away from dialing another one of those in. Bottom of the 8th. Mesmer able to keep her hopes alive. The veteran Larissa Franklin on deck. And Kaylee Rafter very involved in the game in every way, shape, or form. She was as a player. She is as a head coach. And she's always intense. She's dialed in tonight. Can tell by the language how she's moved around in and out of the dugout. These are the nights where probably it's way harder to coach than it was to play in these types of games. Mesmer. Another 0-2 pitch on the way as Parnaby checks the wristband. Mesmer, is it deep enough? Throw to the plate. Out. Game continues. It wasn't quite deep enough. And the strong throw home for the double play to send us to inning number 9. Back with that after this. So neither team able to deliver in the 8th. See if that changes in inning number 9. Georgia Hood with Taylor Sitsakronis, the last out to start at second. Not sure if Hood will bunt. I would say somewhat unlikely, but we'll see. Lang Harrow puts on the sign. Always interesting to see how coaches handle the situation with a runner to begin the inning at second. And I would say that about both offensively and defensively. Hood went around. Don Bodrug entered the game, 2 outs in the top of the 6th, and has been excellent. She'll need to be even longer. And almost hit Georgia Hood. Able to get out of the way on the 0-2 pitch. I'm going to guess she's going upstairs. Nope. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Georgia Hood. The first out so critical in this situation. You'd love to keep that runner right where she is. Now you have a base open here. Count full. Dawn hasn't had to deal with many of these as she looks in at her head coach to get the sign. Hood hit it high and deep. Pilgrim back and will haul it in. And made a strong throw. Callum Pilgrim. As Georgia Hood almost gave Australia a 2-run advantage. Jade Wall is homered already in the game. She did so off of Sarah Groenwagen back in the 5th. And a deep enough fly ball to advance the runner to third. So in a lot of cases, it would be a bunt. That time it almost left the yard. The 35-year-old center fielder, Jade Wall. And Bodrug gets ahead. 2 strikes. And the last thing you want to see in a situation like this is a 2-strike base hit. If this pitch gets hit, you want it well out of the zone. And it wasn't. But well foul. Infield in, of course. Wall would love another deep fly ball to give her country the lead. Canada wants that. As good a drop ball as Don Bodrug can throw. It fell right off. And now the infield, the middle infield, plays back for Shaylin Watman. Still a big out to achieve. Sits Acronis, the runner at third. And there's a strike. Just a fabulous display on this Friday night. They don't get any better. Shaylin Watman, the left fielder, struck out 3 times in the game. And there's exactly, no one's getting hurt with that 0-2 pitch. On the ground to Harshman. Inning over. Don Bodrug. And the Canadian defense. Great play by Pilgrim. They have another chance in the bottom of the 9th. Ellen Roberts is the new pitcher in the ninth. Outstanding performance from 33-year-old Kaya Parnaby. 8 innings, limited this Canadian hitting attack to 3 runs, 4 hits. She struck out 7 and walked 3 through 115 pitches. So Canada, Don Bodrug and company, do not surrender a run in the 8th or the 9th. Larissa Franklin with Grace Mesmer, the last out of the 8th. And Larissa can do whatever you want with a bat, can play small ball. I would think if given the opportunity, you'd like to lay a bunt down that forces third baseman Claire Warwick to have to spin and make a difficult play to third. And Franklin takes the first pitch from Ellen Roberts for a ball. Ellen is 2-0 in the Canada Cup, 14 2/3 innings, given up 3 runs on 11 hits, struck out 19 and walked 6. Quite a spot to come into. Faked it and allowed strike 1. Love the strategy involved in this situation. Georgia Hood steps over at first to look in on the sign. And Franklin takes another strike. Franklin has a hit tonight. She's 1 for 3. Punches it. But the runner doesn't move, as Claire Warwick plays it exceptionally well, as Franklin tried to literally punch it past her. But it didn't allow Mesmer to make her way 60 feet to third, and here's Kiana Jones. Canada gets their first look at Ellen Roberts for a while. Who has the clutch hit in their bat bag tonight? Trying to keep their team in the winner's bracket. Triple Crown, Colorado, and Mexico in a similar showdown next. Hard to beat this one. Nice catch. Outside of the fence. Down the line. And Roberts ahead of Kiana Jones, the 22-year-old product of right here in Surrey. Can the hometown girl find a way? Gets away. And that could be a big mistake. As Sitsa-Kronis went up to get it. And Mesmer now 60 feet away. But you must put the ball in play. The last inning ended on a fly out to left and a perfect throw home from Shaylin Watman to end the Canadian threat. And ouch. Kiana felt that one. Fouled it right off her instep. two teams headed on Monday to Italy for the start of the World Cup on July the 15th. Australia will play in the opening game of that tournament against reigning Olympic champion Japan. Canada will also play opening day against the United States. So they didn't exactly draw a great opening straw. The 1-2 to Kiana Jones. Australia thought it was strike three, and they might not have been the only ones in the park that thought just that. One out, bottom of the ninth. Jones out of play. The drama and the tension continues at Softball City. Not quite the same types of Canadian crowds we've witnessed earlier this week, and it's a bit of a shame with a kind of classic game between two world elite teams. Jones. Here comes Mesmer. Safe. Canada wins. Kiana Jones didn't hit it very far, but enough as she almost looks bashful. In fact, she does. And Canada will stay in the winner's bracket and play the winner of Triple Crown Colorado and Mexico tomorrow night in the winner's bracket final at 6. Ellen Roberts spins around. Not in time to get Grace Mesmer, who did not hesitate. Quite a contest. The best of the tournament, and Canada wins it 4-3 in 2 extra innings. And Australia, by the bracket that I looked at, will take on Israel tomorrow in their next game. Fabulous display. Canada wins 4-3. So long for now. Back with Triple Crown Colorado and Mexico in the nightcap in about, I'd say, a half an hour or so time.
For the latest in softball innovation, the website where you can experience the best tournaments in the Americas.
Live games, news, tournaments, and much, much more.
The best quality live softball, on demand so you can watch when you want. Become a Premier member now. Softball Premier TV